Hey, welcome back. Today's video is going to be very different from all the other videos that I've done because I'm going to be doing a response video today. This has come from one of you, my subscribers. A lot of people were putting in the comments, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this expert on the housing market? What do you think of Realtor.com and Zillow? But the big one came with Barbara Corcoran. A lot of people were saying about this video that's come out and saying, Neil, you're saying this and Barbara's saying something different. So I've not seen the video yet. I've got it here on my laptop right here. And I just thought, why not? Let me do a response or reaction video, give you my opinion live as I'm watching this video. So I really like Barbara. Admirer of hers in terms of what she's achieved in the real estate place. She's been doing this for a lot longer than me, decades and decades more. So let's see what she has to say. Let's get this started.
Right now, want to chat housing with one of our favorite guests who knows the housing market very well. That would be Shark Tank's Barbara Corcoran, who joins us again on the show. Barbara, how the heck are you?
I'm doing fine, Zach. You're looking good to me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's dig into the housing data that we got today, because we always love getting your take on it. And today, I know there's a lot of different ways we can look at it, but we'll start with the update we got, which was mortgage applications here. The interesting number was a rise in applications, 6% last week versus the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association.
Yeah, and I've got to say that was a surprise to me when I saw those 6%. So I've got my own theory on that. I'll see what Barbara has to say. But my theory on that is because we've got this huge unemployment spike that's just going up. So people are basically losing their jobs in droves. So why would mortgage applications be going up 6%? That doesn't make any sense. So my theory on that is because a lot of people know, right? They know they're about to lose their jobs. So they're trying to get this mortgage in quickly, get in there quickly, buy their house. But what this is doing is you're seeing a bidding war at the moment in certain areas. But we'll probably talk about that later.
Easily adjusted index. Purchase volumes also out, and we look at those about 1.5% lower than a year ago, but a big jump up versus what we saw before, down 35% annually. So there's a lot to dig through here, but what's your general take on where we're headed based off of that?
Well, we're headed in different directions depending upon where you're speaking about in the country. It's kind of a choppy market. When you actually look at those mortgage applications, you find they're erratic. Some states have tremendous upticks. Some are actually going down.
Yeah, definitely. So I agree with her on this. And it's like I always say, the US is so big. People say to me, oh, Neil, what do you think about this city or this town in this state? And it's like 1,000 cities. And you're asking me about one tiny town or something, or small city. It is completely different depending on where you are. Let's see if she talks about that.
We average on a high note a little bit so that we can all feel optimistic. But you have some areas where prices are really up, like Dallas or Orlando, 9-12%. Nobody expected that to be going on.
Well, I would say I expected that to be going on, because if you look at, who should she say there, Dallas and Orlando, Dallas I definitely expected to go up because you've got some big companies moving into Dallas at the moment. I think Charles Schwab is even moving his investment firm in there anytime soon. But you've got some big companies that are actually moving into Dallas right now. So that's normal. I would expect prices to go up when you've got tech companies, especially. Some are relocating from San Francisco to Dallas. Look what happened in San Francisco. Look at what the prices happened there. So when you have that big move and you have those high-paying people moving to somewhere like Fort Worth or Dallas, you're going to have big moves in the market. It's going to go up. It's just supply and demand. Orlando, I would agree with Barbara there, definitely. I would never have expected Orlando to be going up the way it's going right now. I actually have no answer for why that's happening, which is rare for me, I know, but I don't know why that's happening, because if you look at the market in Orlando, you have Disney World and all the parks and all of that. It's really, Orlando is a tourist place. So if you've got no tourism coming into a place because there's no demand, right? So supply and demand, you've got no demand for the tourism. What are all those people doing? Well, they've either been furloughed or they've lost their jobs or they've gone part-time. right? But then you might say, well, they might have got a job somewhere else. Well, where? It's not like they're going to go down to Denny's and get a job because, right, all these places are in the same predicament right now. Yes, we're starting to reopen the economy and all of that, but this has happened now. You can't sort of reverse the clock. You've got things going downwards. So I would have expected Orlando to go down in terms of the prices as people are panicking. But of course, you have got mortgage forbearance. That's the only reason it's being held up. If you didn't have that mortgage forbearance, you wouldn't see it be going up in Orlando. You'd see it going down. But I still think it's quite strange that it is going up.
Have Seattle, Washington, D.C., Boston, unbelievably having bidding wars. Hey, how's that happening in this market? Okay, but then you have the black holes, the areas that are really hardest hit, like the...
Okay, just quickly on that, how is that happening in this market? Well, how it's happening in terms of bidding wars is, like I said earlier, people want to get in quickly. They're like, right, this is my chance. I might lose my job. I need to get this house right now. That makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever because people are thinking short term instead of long term. So short term, yeah, you might get the house. But if you haven't got a job, you can't pay for the house. So why would you try and get a house that you can't pay for? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, that's what is going on.
Urban areas. And when you look at those numbers, those are mind-boggling, even worse than I thought in terms of quantity of sales. Sales are down by 40%. And even in my hometown of New York City, where leases were just renewed on April 1st, 4 out of 10 tenants opted not to renew.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in New York. People are always eager to renew those leases.
Okay, so 40% of leases are not being renewed. Reason for this, quite simply, people are concerned, and you don't want to be in a big city when you've got a virus or whatever going around, right? So people are getting concerned. They're thinking, if you watch my video last week, you'll understand this. I can work remotely now. Well, I don't need to spend all this money to have this apartment in New York City when I can live outside and work from outside. If you're liking this video so far, please make sure to smash that like button for me. And if you're not a subscriber, why not consider subscribing? I bring fantastic real estate, housing, property, finance videos every single week.
So you've got a really whacked out kind of erratic up down in between market all over the states. But bottom line, it's improving. And maybe I should have said that up front rather than yak at you. But bottom line, it's improving it ever so little, and it's improving in this month. And remember, this is the beginning of the spring season. My eyes are glued on what the numbers are next month. I think you're going to be in for a happy surprise.
I don't. Okay, that's unusual. I'm surprised Barbara said that. Okay.
No, I mean, so that's the interesting thing too, because we did get that optimism on Monday when we looked at Homebuilder Sentiment that the reading did show a bit of a rebound. Granted, we were in the complete basement, below the basement, really, if you think about historical averages on that sentiment front. But we are seeing an uptrend on that. And you put all these things together, you can look at low record mortgage rates, pent-up demand as states reopen here, buyers start to go out, look at open houses, a flight to suburbs as maybe people are afraid of being in a city during all this. Yeah. So, I mean, you put all those things together, and the data we're getting now, is it more than just a little bit of a recovery here? Is it kind of shaping up in your mind for kind of the next housing rally? Okay, so he said a lot there. He didn't really let Barbara talk, but he said a lot there. But to answer that question that you just said at the end, is it shaping up to be a housing rally? No, it's not. No, definitely not. But what we are going to see, well, no, let me just backtrack on that. We are going to see this rally initially because this is, there's an expression, there's nothing new under the sun. Right, so if you just look at past recessions and times of financial crises, what's going on right now is nothing unusual. You have these rallies of people just rushing out. Whenever you see a bidding war, which is what's going on right now, that is the time to step back. All right, when you see bidding wars on anything, especially houses, right, just stop and think about this for a second. People get too emotional about houses and they think of them as like a living, breathing organism, like a child sometimes. A house is not that. All right, I get it's your home. I completely understand that. And same with me, I treat my house like my home. But I don't have that like emotional attachment to it, like it's my child or something like that. And that's what we're seeing in this marketplace. We're seeing people go and do a view and they're like, oh, I'm in love with this house. Okay, that's fine if you want to be in love with a house,
but don't let it like override your rationale. Don't, there's an old expression in sales, which is that people buy with emotion and they justify with logic. And that is no truer than in the housing market. People buy it on that emotion and then they justify it with logic. And you have another thing going on right now, which is, I can't remember what it's called. It's the law of, it'll come to me. Well, basically, it's a bit like when you see testimonials, right? You see companies and they're doing testimonials. And then you see how referrals are like 10 times more valuable than, going out and doing your own marketing or advertising, or 10 times cheaper. Because a referral from someone that you trust is much better than seeing an advert, right? Because you don't know if it's trustworthy. But if someone recommends it to you, it's trustworthy. So what we're seeing right now is, all these people that are in this like buying frenzy simply because other people are buying. That's it. Because there's a frenzy, people are like, oh, what am I missing? It's like when you see, I don't know if you've ever seen this, it's common in the UK, I don't know if it's common in other places, but there's like a giant queue down the street. People are just lined up and you're like, what's going on? And next thing you know, there's like, you say to someone, oh, excuse me, what's this queue for? And they'll say, oh, I don't know, I just got into it. There must be something good at the start. Like, what are you talking about? I've never understood this at all, but yet this is what a lot of people do. And it's the same frenzy that's going on in the housing market right now.
Almost setting me up for this one, but I would say what you're really seeing right now is a giant reshuffle in the housing market. Everybody who's sitting at home has the time to think about, is this what I want? What would we change? Where do we want to live? Everybody, even those folks that weren't even thinking about change, have it on their mind.
I agree with that.
This is a new realization of how important the home actually is. Years ago it was, what's the school district and how many bedrooms or baths I need and what can I build in? That was it. How big is the backyard?
Yeah.
Vastly different now. Now the home is a safe haven, literally a safe haven. It's a schoolhouse. It's a remote office. And it's got to also be perfect enough to keep you as one big happy family for 24/7. That's a
Yeah, Barbara is very wise. That's one thing I'll say about Barbara. She's a very wise woman. And that's why I like listening to her advice.
To expect out of a house. And so today, everybody's had the time to resize their situation, exactly think of what they really want. And I think you're going to see an explosion in the housing market just by the virtue of the quantity of change. And so I think we're going to, as soon as, depending upon...
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think we're going to see an explosion in the housing market. But even if we do, it's going to be very short-lived, right? And actually, there could be a small explosion right now in the housing market. Whilst we've got all of this going on, you've got the stimulus, you've got the furloughing programs, you've got all this other stuff going on, mortgage forbearance and the like. So we may see a small explosion right now, but it is not going to last. Trust me on this, it will not last.
States open up, how quickly in the housing arena, how you could show homes, make it more available. You're going to be surprised at how the numbers are going to go through the roof. I'm going to hit my hat if that's not the case.
Yeah, no, I mean, you talk about, I guess, it's always an issue of supply and demand. We've talked about the issue on...
And look what they're saying here, supply and demand. That's my fundamental principle that I always teach. It's all about supply and demand. Almost anything. Look at anything in the economy and you'll see that we live in a free market, all right? And if the free market, again, I don't mean to the full extent, but if it were just allowed to run its course, the free market is a self-correcting organism and system. But because of all this manipulation that we keep doing, this is what's causing issues. Why is the housing market so high? Because of manipulation that has been going on over the past decades.
The demand front is home buyers maybe staying home, but supply has always kind of been an issue on that front. And now you brought up the issue of battling in terms of competition and bidding wars that do seem to be playing out now across the country. The Redfin update was pretty interesting there, seeing that about 40% of home buyers that Redfin works with did report seeing bidding wars on purchasing a home. The rate was even higher in some cities that we've talked about before, San Francisco, Boston. Even.
Again, so what? I said this last week. It doesn't make any difference if there is this bidding war right now. This is short-lived. It's the same that's happened in previous recessions. You have this bidding war just before a crash. I don't know why people don't study the history of economics.
Texas getting in with some big bidding wars there too. I mean, does that just signal to you that we are seeing a complete return here as home buyers, potential home buyers, get out there to really start looking at what's on the market?
Those are actually the states where it's easy to see a home, where the brokers are still working and can open the doors and say, hey, here's the kitchen, here's the bath. But if you look at the states where it's very difficult to show, difficult to do inspections, title searches, there's still so much obstruction between the buyer and the house that you don't see those same numbers. But so in those states where you can access homes and show them, yes, those Redfin numbers are just the tip of the iceberg. But in those homes...
Yeah, and this is an issue at the moment. With some of the states that are closed down and the realtors are not, and the agents, they're not allowed to take you around and do certain things, and it's like online viewings and things. In the UK especially, it's online viewings, a lot of it, right? And that's difficult because you don't really buy a house from watching a video, right? You don't. You need to get there. You need to walk the area. How does it feel? What's the area like? What are the people like? What's the house feel like inside? There's so many things. It's an emotional purchase. It really is. Like I said earlier, a house is an emotional purchase.
Still locked away from the buyers. You're going to see actually a quicker rise in prices when you have that explosion of those frantic buyers coming through.
Oh, she's using my favorite word, explosion of house prices.
I want.
Well, I mean, let's get. This will be the last question on housing before we take a break and talk more about businesses here. But when we look at housing, just on a personal front, because I was thinking about maybe being a first-time home purchaser a couple months ago.
You haven't got a house? I'm surprised. I'm shocked. You're not a first-time buyer yet.
Before all this happened, and just looked at it, I mean, mortgage rates continue to come down compared to about a year ago. So, I mean, when you look at maybe first-time home buyers looking at all this play out, what's your take on maybe all of these things as you're describing a potentially very hot housing market, getting in now and maybe having it to sell later on down the line?
Well, before the...
Whoa. That's a loaded question already there. You wouldn't buy now to sell later on down the line. That would be the wrong way around. If anything, you would sell now to buy later on down the line. So I'm not sure where that came from.
Pandemic hit, the first-time buyer market anywhere in the country was the hottest sector of the market. There were just not enough houses to go around. And that was before half the houses were removed from the market. So now you're working on half the inventory in just about every market, frankly, some a little better than others. But if you go back into that market...
Yeah, so inventory is a big one and what dictates the prices quite heavily, as well as interest rates and some other things. But when you have a lack of inventory like we have, yes, that will push prices up. So that's accurate.
And you wait for the crowd. If you like a crowd, like I like to bid when everybody wants this and bid over them, then just wait and sit still. But if you really want...
Yeah, so that's good advice. That's good advice there. Just wait, take your time.
In there, I would say, start putting your bids in right now. You're crazy not to be out there, Zach. You know, I'm going to not laugh at you, but I'm going to say I told you so.
No, Zach. Don't go out and start bidding right now. Because Barbara will not be laughing and saying, I told you so. She's going to say, oops, sorry, and you're going to be down like a lot of money.
And now I'll put a bid in before the crowd is also doing the same thing. Home buying for the first-time buyer is the hottest sector of the market because of low interest rates.
Yes, it is because of low interest rates, but you never buy, right? Barbara, just listen to Warren Buffett. Listen to what he's saying right now. Listen to some other people who are investors. Like a house is an investment, okay? And I get it's a home and everything else, but it's an investment. And it's probably the biggest investment that you will ever make in your life. So to go out now, get your bid in, just bid in war, get that house. That is not how investments work. You don't want to be going like buying when everyone else is in a frenzy of buying. Look what happened to the Great Depression, 1929. That's exactly what happened then. Everyone was buying, everyone was in the stock market. And look what happened. You have this massive crash. You never buy when there's a frenzy.
For the pandemic, and it's going to come back better than any other end of the market.
No, it's not.
Right,
Barbara, come on. Why are you saying this?
Now coming together there to say that the housing market could be on the rebound, but always interesting to get your thoughts on that. Hey, investors, Zach Guzman.
To be honest, guys, I'm really surprised by what I've just heard there by Barbara. Again, I have the greatest respect for her. I really like Barbara. I could watch her all day. I think she's just fantastic. I really do. But I am surprised that Barbara's just given that advice just then to get into the market right now, because to me, this is all pretty obvious, but maybe it's because I'm in this market day in, day out. This is all I do every day. I'm studying, economics, finance, the markets. I'm tracking everything. So I guess if you're not doing what I'm doing every day, it might, you might just revert to, oh yeah, let's just get out there and buy a house because everyone else is out there. But I really don't think that's the best thing to do right now, actually. So yeah. So if you liked this review, response, reaction video, whatever you want to call it, for me reviewing housing experts, people who are experts in the real estate space, not just here in the US or UK, but globally, just let me know. But make sure you click like on the video if you appreciated this video. Why not subscribe if you're not subscribed already? But leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought of this video. And would you like me to make more reaction videos? If so, just send me the video with a comment with it. Just let me know what videos you would like me to review. I'll happily do that. But apart from that, I'll see you for the main video this week. Take care.